Okay, so just first off, wow. Oh my gosh. This book was so good. It had the perfect thriller vibe. It hit all the beats. Good pacing. It had the mixture of creepy and supernatural, but still realistic events. We had enough characters to have multiple, theories and culprits, stuff like that. We didn't have too many characters, or that would washed out the story, not giving us the time that we needed to spend time with those characters. So yeah, it did everything right. So I gave it 5 stars. The only thing wrong with this book, though, is the title. Title has nothing to do with the book. What is up, you guys? It's me, your girl, your Casey. How you doing? So for the last 2 months, I've been reading crap. And not cool crap. No, the most boring of all craps. Nothing has wowed me until I've met my newest love. Just saying, if I was making a best thrillers I ever read list, this one would be on it. I mean, the premise is pretty simple, but the way it was executed was very good. Home Before Dark is, of course, written by Riley Sager. I don't know what number in the chronological order this is of their books, but I think the first book was, am I right? Final Girls, and I have that on my shelves. Still haven't read that yet, but I've obviously read Home Before Dark, I read Lock Every Door, and I love them both. Lock Every Door I gave 4 stars. This one, 5. Short summary, short review before I get into everything that I loved and highlight why exactly you should read this book without spoilers first. Lock Every Door is the story of Maggie. Wait, wrong story. I'm a liar. Home Before Dark is the story of Maggie. It was a ghost. Maggie is 30 years old. She's one of those flippers. You buy an old house, you renovate it, you sell it for profit. That's what she does. She loves it. She's interested in bringing out the story in every house, which is ironic because she doesn't know the story of her own childhood house, her infamous childhood house, because when she was around 5 years old, she, her mom, her dad, lived in, it's not Blackburn Hall, what's it called? Baneberry Hall. I can't believe I forgot the name, because Baneberries are such an important thing in this book. Anyways, the family lived in Baneberry Hall, which has an awful, awful past, horrible history. The small town event is like, yeah, it's haunted. Why you moving in there, you dum-dums? And sure enough, the most haunted of hauntings happens. The family runs out of the house, their daughter injured. The father makes a police report, that police report spreads, and people are like, oh, what is this event that's happening over in Vermont? The media gets a hold of it, and then soon enough, the dad's like, well, we've been run out of our house by ghosts. We don't have any money, so I might as well, write a book about this jazz. So he does. He writes an account called House of Horrors, detailing what all went on as soon as they bought that house and what made them run for their lives out of that house. And throughout the years of growing up, Maggie, their daughter, has been living in the shadow of that book. None of her friends want to really be her friends. They just think she's like a novelty, like, oh, you're the ghost girl, stuff like that. Because, as it usually is in horror, she was a child and children are like the ghost sensitive type, so the book was really all about her, kinda, and she wasn't a fan of that. She didn't like people assuming that she knew her, and she didn't like that she actually couldn't remember a thing about what happened during their stay at Blackberry Hall. Blackberry? Baneberry Hall. But she is absolutely certain that the whole book is just made up. But she gets the shock one day when her dad dies and the lawyer is like, hey, yeah, here's the keys to Baneberry Hall. She's like, wait, I thought my dad sold that years ago. Mr. Lawyer's like, no, it's yours now. And so our girl Maggie decides that this is the opportunity to go back to the house, try to reclaim her past by looking for clues, little remembrances of her dad and events from that night. And also, she's a flipper. She wants to renovate the house and sell it. But things are not always as they seem. Because as soon as she gets there, the crap hits the fan and the new haunting ensues. So you guys know, or at least heard of, that man, I think, who just realized, I think, some food or clothes were going missing in his house. So he set up some cameras, and then, shock of all shocks, he realized that a homeless woman, was living in his cabinets the whole time, eating his food, using his sink as a toilet, just taking his stuff while he wasn't at home or while he was asleep. That's what I initially thought this book was going to be about. Oh, the ghost. It was just someone living in the house while the family was there, and then the girl's going to come back, and the same guy, or the guy's children, will still be living in the house, and then they'll be chasing her off. No. It is so much more in-depth and more intricate and just better than what I first thought. And one of the best things that worked insanely well with this book is we have the book, but we also have that book within the book, House of Horrors, Horrors, the tale that the dad wrote. We also get snippets of that book alongside of Maggie's narrative, and they play off each other so well. We usually get like a little explanation of why something happened in the past House of Horrors book to something that's happening currently. We can get some foreshadowing from it, and also like we got to see Maggie's dad, a character who's currently dead in the book. He was a good character too. One of the things that I note, especially in thrillers where they tend to mess up with me, is that they either have too few characters or too many characters. Too few, then it's pretty easy to pick who did it. If you have too many, then you know the characters are more spread out. You don't have enough time to spend with each individual, and then if someone's revealed to be the villain, then you don't really care because you barely knew the person and then just comes across as sloppy, not written well. Most thrillers tend to err on the side of too many. However, this one had like a good number. It had about 6, and we got to see those characters a lot too. But this book, it had my brain working so much while I was reading it. I had theories within theories on top of theories. I got the shout, I knew it at some times, and I also was just like, flabbergasted because I didn't see that coming. So it strung me along the good way because it was letting me solve things, but it also like really got me. That's a good thriller right there because everything was believable because I was working myself up to getting to the final twist. Talking about like the number of characters, the characters themselves, they're not really that deep. They're good, but you know, lukewarm good. They're not like, oh my gosh, I would die for this person good. I cannot remember the girl's name in Lock Every Door, but I loved her backstory and it was just, I loved her. This girl, Maggie, she's fine. Like, I have nothing against her, but she's not really that much either. Like, she's determined, she's brave, she's independent. She didn't make any stupid mistakes, so that's what she did. She kept forgetting to shut the front gate. Because, you know, you have this awesome Gothic manor, and you have a gate. She kept forgetting to shut the gate, and I'm screaming at her from the other side of the page to shut the gate. There's only one time she made me like, like, oh, girl, what? Was when, so she meets this handsome carpenter guy, and his name is Dane. You know, broad shoulders, slim waist, cool, tall drink of water, all that jazz. And so he comes over and she starts saying, hey, this weird stuff is happening, but I refuse to believe it's ghosts. He's like, well, of course it's not ghosts. You keep leaving the front gate open. Anyone can walk in here. And she's like, stop mansplaining. And I'm like, girl, that's just common sense right there. Shut the dang gate. It was written very well. With thrillers, I want a really simple writing style. Thrillers usually are in one location, that's the house. So the house does get a lot of description. This one did it well, wasn't too descriptive, and I could really see the rooms. My favorite room depicted was, I think, the indigo room. It was the room that had the 2 paintings of the previous owners. So just like finally getting the answer as to what's happening, why won't her parents really talk to her anymore about what happened in Baneberry? Why are items starting to go missing? What is she hearing at night? All those answers, I got them. Great resolution. And the thing that the selling point with me with thrillers is that there isn't just one plot twist at the end. No. There's like 4. There was 4 in this book towards the ending, and I loved it because I like predicted one of them, and then like 3 others just came out of nowhere, but like believably out of nowhere. And it was amazing. One of them had me like punching my bed over there because I knew it. Typically, just thinking about this now, I'm usually not into that haunted house incorporated into thrillers vibe, but this one did it well. Because unlike another book I read, Ruth Ware, Lock Every Door. I meant to say Ruth Ware, The Turn of the Key, not Lock Every Door. I don't know what I'm talking about. Just ignore me. We saw like how these quote-unquote supernatural occurrences could be explained, you know, realistically. We were getting hints as, oh, this is, you know, human, not a ghost. But in Ruth Ware, it was really pushing to, oh, it's a ghost, like it's definitely a ghost. And when it's a thriller, I want my culprit to be a human, not a ghost. Because if you're like Ruth Ware and you're pushing me to believe it's a ghost this whole time, and then suddenly it's a guy, like I knew it was a guy the whole time because it's a thriller, it's not fiction, but still, you were trying to trick me into thinking it was a ghost, so you weren't giving me the clues I needed to guess what human was doing it. But this haunted house feel in Home Before Dark, very nice. The snake scene, not the coffee, man, not the coffee. Like, no. for a thriller, I honestly cannot recommend this enough, and I want to talk about more about what I was feeling and theorizing throughout my read of this, so we are going to start going into spoilery sections right now. So if you don't want to hear it, click off right now, because I don't know how else to say it again. Read the book. It's super good. One of the most important things for a thriller to me is to nail the ending, and this one did. So now we're going to talk about the spoilers. Okay, so my main theory, spoiler people, chiefly most of the time, was that it was the mom who killed Petra and was probably even responsible for the husband's death, the husband who wrote the book, House of Horrors. Why I was thinking this was she was out of town while Maggie, her daughter, was like revisiting Baneberry Manor, or Baneberry Hall, whatever you call it. And she was not returning her phone calls, and she was secretive about the whole thing. So I fell for that red herring. The obvious answer, I fell for it. I read too many bad thrillers that I think the authors who are actually really good are going to go for the most obvious thing. No, I underestimate them now. And so that mom is the villain theory. I had multiple other ones buzzing in the back of my head. At first, I was thinking, what if Maggie is actually Petra and that dead body up there was Maggie's? That's not a really good theory, but that's one I was like, chewing on a little bit. I even theorized that because maybe the parents are so secretive about this whole thing is because somehow Maggie killed Petra. That was one of the twists. So I was kind of right, but I'm not going to credit myself for that because I was really like, no, I was really like the mom did it. But I came up with that theory, so there was like good groundwork to get me to that theory without it being blatantly obvious. But the one obvious hint was Maggie's obvious memory loss, so a traumatic event could have been blamed on like the ghost, but still, I kind of caught on to it. Because this book had like the right amount of cast in it, the amount of characters, there were numerous red herrings that made sense, but I'm also glad they weren't the villain. I'm talking about Dane. Like, I thought Dane was the guy stealing the items from the house and selling them on the auction. No, that was Hannah. I wasn't really blown away that, Hannah's stealing this because she was just always moody to begin with. So I was like, she's probably up to something, yeah. But it makes sense why she's stealing it. She's not that malicious. Even though she has good reason to be malicious. Petra was her sister. But she also needed that money for, treatment for her mom. And Maggie didn't care about those items. She's like, girl, take them. But then that's when, after that little talk with Hannah, we realized that Petra and Dane had a little something going on, and I was like, oh man, please don't let him kill Petra. Not because I like him, like he's okay, but I'm not like in love with him. But I was like, oh please, this is just not like a good story turn because we never got to see those interactions or really a lot of hints between Petra and Dane. And if he did kill her, then it wouldn't be a good plot twist, really. But we got that little shock, like, oh, Dane's the culprit. But then we got the other twist within that twist that, no, like, yes, they dated in secret, but he didn't kill her. And poor boy didn't get to talk about this because he had to, like, chase after Maggie, and then he fell through a hole and landed on his head in the kitchen. So Hannah was stealing the stuff. Dane is the kind of scapegoat right now, but then that led to the revelation that, oh my gosh, it was Maggie who killed Petra while Petra was babysitting one night. The parents were away, and Maggie was having a tantrum, swearing she was seeing ghosts, freaking out, and she pushed Petra down the stairs. When the parents came home, she came back and was just like crying, going, I did not kill her. It wasn't me. It wasn't me. That was like the third theory I had in the back of my head. So I was like, yes, this is good. Bring on the guilt, the angst, the character development. But we could not end the story there because we obviously had like 20 pages left. And that's when my favorite twist came out of nowhere. And it was that, it starts with M. What's that lady's name? Martha? Pennyface. That lady. Marta. So after Maggie's confrontation with Dane, she's tired. She's not feeling good, so she's laying in her bed. And you know that armoire? What is it called? The closet that's by her bed. It pops open. Who steps out? It's not Mr. Shadow. It's Miss Pennyface. But who's Miss Pennyface? It's Marta. Marta, the mom of the family who lived in the house before Maggie's family. There was a secret passage that she knew about because they lived in the house longer. They found all the secret passages and stuff. And my favorite little tidbit is that Marta had those weird like Benjamin Franklin glasses. And to little Maggie, the moonlight reflecting off those glasses looked like pennies. So that's why she was called Pennyface. It was such like a little obvious little detail shoved in there that I just completely missed. But I knew Marta was no good because of the pie. I have read The Help. Anytime someone gives you a pie, they are the villain. There is something in it. So the second Marta showed up, she's like, I got you a pie. I'm like, I know there's bane berries in there. I know it's poisoned. You are evil. I don't know exactly where you fit in this story yet, but you are bad. So my favorite thing about this story was every person was connected to a little bit of evil. We had Hannah, a thief. Dane, I think Dane got Petra in trouble for sneaking out a lot. And he also chased Hannah through her house, which wasn't a really good idea for him to do. It resulted in him going to that hospital and really implicating him as the killer. But then we had the mom who admitted to being part of a team that covered up a body. And then we had Pennyface, Marta, who was the big bad villain this whole time, the one who killed Petra by pushing her down the stairs. When Petra, who was babysitting Maggie, discovered Marta creepily petting the girl at night because Marta was driven crazy by the murder-suicide of her husband and her daughter. So I just loved it. It fits so well and it was logical. So many thrillers just take a flying leap and just expect you to be like, oh, the hint was that there was he said da-da-da when he should have said da-da-da in that one sentence 40 pages ago. I hate it when those thriller reveals or a slip in dialogue because they're so easy to spot. But this one, it was about actions and appearances too, the little details they were wearing. I'm glad after I read this that the mom wasn't actually the villain. She did hide a body, which isn't nice. But she did love her daughter, and so did her dad. And I liked hearing about how much he loved his family through his own writing in House of Horrors. And I like that Maggie continued on to a sequel writing House of Secrets afterwards. And I just need to finally get to reading Final Girls because I really like this author. I actually need to go see if they have any more books because I want to read more. I trust them, and that's super nice with thrillers. Having a nice, dependable source to give you a nice thrill ride.